One of the biggest efforts for the administration has been around open government and particularly making data accessible and usable. So could you explain to me why opening data or making it more readable or accessible spurs innovation? And what does the next iteration of data.gov look like?
Well, I think, open data has been something that's been central to my tenure in the White House, and it I like to use the example. You can go back to looking at great U.S. government examples like the Weather Service and what that, hundreds of millions of dollars of economic value that's created, not to mention the public safety aspects of being able to understand when a storm's approaching or what, is my crop going to survive or when should I plant my food or things like that. But I always think, I love the example of what is probably the largest purchase of most Americans' life, which is their first home. If you take the first home and you think about, what data do we as a society provide, both private and public sector, provide to Americans in what is their most expensive purchase of their life. And if you look at the multiple listing service or these real estate websites, you can kind of get a sense of that, right? You find out where the house is, how many bedrooms are in the house, what's the roof composition, what's the, how many bathrooms, all that sort of stuff. But if you then overlay government data onto that, what data does the government have? We know about crime statistics, and local and federal. We know about crime statistics. We know about environmental impacts. We know education quality. We know healthcare quality. We know information about, is there an organic farm within 25 miles of you? I don't know about you. I'm enough of a tech geek that I care more about my broadband connectivity than I care about my roof composition or even the number of bathrooms in my house.
Got to have a priority,
right. And so if you think about overlaying government data onto that purchasing decision, you could fundamentally change the dynamic in the way that Americans buy homes, and then fundamentally change the dynamic in the way that Americans face their largest purchase of their life, and that that's a small example, but that extends across so many other factors. In the last year, we released the Department of Health and Human Services released all this Medicare payment data for hospitals, so Americans can now go in and see if I get a hip replaced, which is sort of become somewhat of a standard procedure, if you will. You can look into one geographic area like a city and see the different pricing for that and see the disparity in the pricing for that across different hospitals. Overlay that with health outcomes, and you get really interesting data about what hospital should I choose, and is there a market dynamic that should drive quality here, and are there other things you can do, and overlay that with agricultural data, and you suddenly understand where are the food deserts and what health outcomes is that driving. And data is just incredible. It's the new treasure trove. It's the new raw ingredient and natural resource of really the 21st century, and thinking about the future of this country and how we make decisions, how we do different things, and in keeping us safe, secure, and educating us and everything else, I think will be driven by data. And so we're at the tip of the iceberg on where data is going to go, and I believe where the private sector can take advantage of open government data to drive not only benefit but economic value for our country.
And are you enhancing data.gov in order to allow them to do some of these slicing and dicing?
Yeah, the first iteration of data.gov was really about just creating a repository of government data. It was a bit static. Yeah. It would encourage agencies to upload their data to data.gov so people could go up and download it and maybe do things with it. Now, what's important about data is really live access to data. When you pull up your weather app on your smartphone, you expect that you're getting real-time weather updates. That's happening in real time, not that there's some static aspect to that. And so the evolution of data.gov and where we've now taken data.gov is really being data.gov acting more as a catalog linking to government data. So it shows you where the data is. So if I want to get Bureau of Labor Statistics data and understand that dynamic, which there's now smartphone apps built around. There's a great one called America's Economy that's built that triangulates economic indicators with labor statistics and other things to do real-time updates of economic status for the country. That's now linked to the live data back in the agencies. And so we've built that as the first step, and then the second part of that is creating these application programming interfaces, these open ways of writing programs so you can access that data in a more predictable way. And so the data.gov is really kind of starting to become the hub for the place you put government data. We've also expanded, we've kind of taken data.gov in two additional axes, which is one, we've expanded data.gov to allow state and local governments to use data.gov as their platform. So there's cities.data.gov, where cities can put up data around their city. And second is we've built data.gov in a way that adheres to our digital principles, and it's built in an open way. And there's now countries around the world that are now taking our data.gov and implementing it within their country. The government of India in particular has done a great job of doing that, and they're fighting corruption. They're doing all kinds of really innovative things, thinking about the role the data plays in their democracy.